Hey everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Reviews. Well, today I thought we'd have a bit of fun. You've seen me review many military watches on the channel before, but I was having a conversation with a friend over on the Discord group, Jason from Watch Rolling, and he's joining me today to review some funny military watches. So, Jason, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Usually when I review military watches or military type watches on the channel, I always like to have somebody join me who was actually in the military. So, Jason, you were in the Navy for a while. Would you like to introduce yourself and also give a plug for your podcast?
Thanks. Yeah, my name's Jason. I run the watchrolling.com website and now podcast. I'm on my second episode. Episode 3 will be released next week. I was in the Navy for 20 years. I was a firefighter in the Navy. It was a good time. I wish I knew more about watches way back when I started, but I didn't. It just became a hobby that I've been doing for about the last 2 years. And the goal of my website and podcast is it's focus on watch collecting with the goal of helping veterans. So in each episode, I include veteran news segment first. So it could be anything about a reference I found or a resource, or maybe some hot news popped up, or I ran across some program that not a lot of people know about. So I just want to make sure I put it out there, because you might be a watch collector with a veteran in your family. And if they don't know about it, you can just pass the word on to a family or friend.
Well, we've each chosen 3 watches that we think are military inspired but no military would use. So we've used watches that have in the title things like military, black ops, spec ops, commando. Jason, here's my first choice, and this is the men's military quartz wristwatch. Yours for $15.99. It's got multiple time zones on it here. I'm not sure what makes this military, but what do you think on this one?
Maybe it looks like something a steampunk pilot would wear. Maybe that's why.
It seems like they've just tagged the military aspect on here, because not only does this thing look absolutely massive, but it doesn't seem to be particularly hard wearing. It's 55 by 50 millimeters.
That's like wearing a small laptop on your wrist. I never associated a mesh bracelet with being like something I want to crawl around the ground on, or have in an engine room of a ship. Maybe it's the dual. I think it's whenever I've noticed that like sometimes when they have multiple time zones, it instantly becomes a military watch. But the thing is like, and I think that's from like movies, right? Like back in the day when you watch a movie and there's some kind of like, they're in like NORAD headquarters or somewhere, and there's like 6 clocks on the wall showing all the different time zones. I mean, a lot of times we already know, we have it pretty much memorized how far away we are or a certain location is, and we adjust accordingly,
My second one, and I think this is quite a famous one, and this is Rick from the Pawn Stars American Aviator watch. Yours for the bargain price of $19.99, but it does point out here that if you wanted to, you could spend $1,000 on a very similar watch. But why would you?
And the style is just as popular today as it was 70 years ago. But now if you want one, the big watch companies force you to pay big bucks. That's why I wear the American Aviator. It's the modern version of this timeless classic, but for a lot less money.
How useful do we think this would be to a military pilot? And what do you think of the watch?
I mean, it has a pretty classic little design. I don't think any pilot's going to, as seen on TV, to pick themselves up a watch to fly.
It also says here it includes a World War II booklet and certificate of authenticity. So it does come with box of papers.
If you walk back into Rick's pawn shop and try to sell it to me, you'd probably say, well, the best I could do is $555.
Aviator is not just a beautiful watch at a beautiful price. It's an important piece of American history. So don't miss out. Supplies are limited. Call or go online now.
My final watch here, I went big with this one, and this is a Panerai. This is the Carbotech Marina Militaire watch, 47 millimeters. Now, I picked this because I've got no doubt that it could certainly withstand the rigors of military operations, but this watch is $40,000. So I'm just thinking that perhaps it's not the best value watch that could be used, or would you dare take this on a military operation at that price?
It's an attractive watch, but I'm not taking 47 grand out on my wrist in any environment where I could lose it or severely damage it. But I mean, I know Panerai has a military history, and so it's got that provenance there. But I think the price point is the one thing that kind of, I guess maybe if you're like a 4-star admiral in the Italian Navy and you're like, I'm working in an office all day, I'm gonna throw this piece of heritage on, I guess. But for the price, I would be scared to death. I'm not a small guy. I'm like 6'2", like 260 pounds. And I used to need every single inch of room I had walking around on a ship, because there's so much stuff on the bulkheads, the walls for people that aren't military affiliated, and you would just bump into stuff all the time. See, so that's why I would be scared. I mean, I know there's sapphire crystal on there, but we all know that sapphire is designed to, break and not scratch, right? So, you're walking around and your wrist flies up and bam, you hit it. And now your sapphire crystal is broken. And then maybe you get sapphire inside the movement or on the dial, and it's just a giant mess.
Well, what do you think would be a good alternative to this? What type of watches did you wear?
I looked back at a lot of pictures I had, and I didn't realize I always had a G-Shock. And I tried to look up, and I know, shameless plug here. I just released an episode where I talked about my second favorite, my second most recommended watch brand to wear if you're active duty, which is Marathon. And I said, because I can't ignore the fact that from a responsible aspect, that the G-Shock is the best bang for your buck if you're going to be on active duty. I mean, you can get in around $90. They're designed, we all know they're designed to be dropped. That was the whole purpose of them being made. The rubber strap for a G-Shock is designed to, if it falls, bounce and take up some of it along with the shock absorption inside the case. I don't know if you can break them, if I'm being honest. And so that's what I wore.
Right. Well, now it's your chance. You pick 3. So let's dive into your first pick here. And this is, now I wasn't sure that this fitted into the rules because it doesn't say it's military in the title, but it does actually say it's military inspired design in the description. So, and this is from Fossil, a well-known brand. So what made you go for this one?
So I've noticed all of these tactical watches, right? First of all, they're all black. So I get it. If you're in the Army or the Marines or, any kind of branch of service that goes out in the field, quote unquote, you're not going to want to have like a white watch on or a yellow watch or something really flashy. But I think they overemphasize the black stuff because for us in the Navy at a time, we had to have either a black, silver, or gold watch while in uniform. And it came to uniform standards just so you didn't detract from your uniform, right? So, my G-Shock the whole time I was in was black. So for some services, the black might be tactical, but for some other services, the black's just uniform appearance, so you don't look like a quote unquote clown while you're out in uniform. So that was the first thing I noticed about all these watches that are black is like, oh, it's black, it's tactical or it's military inspired. Maybe it's more visible in low light because it's not black. I didn't see anything on there about it. There being, that I know some watches have that cool black lume. I didn't see anything about that. But I thought maybe it's a chronograph design. I noticed that the main crown looks like it's screwed down, but the pushers aren't. So I don't know how tactical you could be with some pushers. You could get water inside, and those are big, man. Like if you were crawling around or working on something and one of those pushers get caught, it could pop off, it looks like.
Well, for this next one, I think you definitely deserve a bonus point for this one because not only did you find one that said military in the title, but it also says tactical, and it says tactical LED digital watch. And this is quite the watch, isn't it? And if anybody's shocked at the price, $900, that's actually, we think this is $900 for 100 of them.
Yeah. So the first thing I thought when I saw this, I was like, man, this is almost like Blade Runner-esque. Like, well, it has what appears to be pushers aren't screwed down. And I don't think when I looked, I tried, that picture is not the greatest pictures that they put on there, but I don't think the crown's screwed down either. And then it's got some other pushers on the other side. And the write-up didn't do a very good job explaining like what each pusher does. There's just so much going on that I don't know how practical it really is. And then the bracelet and everything looks a little janky. So I don't think from a durability standpoint, there's no way that thing's lasting on board a ship, man. I'm telling you right now, like you're down in the engine room and, different types of ships have different operating plans, but, some are like really humid down there. It's very hot, condensation sometimes. And, you're swinging heavy tools and lube oils and fuels and stuff. And I don't see that one lasting.
Your final one, I think, is the most interesting watch of them all. And you went for another heavy hitter on here as well. And this is customized Rolex, the Pro Hunter Military World Timer. What made you pick this one?
So, full disclosure, when I first saw this, my brain melted for a moment because I didn't know that people modded Rolexes. But then when I dug deeper in this thing, has like really cool complication that I had never heard of before. And I actually had to like really go back and reread it because I was just kind of blown away. And so for me, the reason why it was a funny military watch is because along the lines of the Panerai, how much it costs. It's in, what is it, 40 some grand or something like that?
Yeah,
and
44 it looks like.
Yeah, 44.
When you sent this over to me, I couldn't work out, or we both couldn't work out where the GMT hand was. But it looks like the GMT hand is connected to a transparent disc, and that the numbers on the inner track are actually what moves to denote the second time zone.
Yeah. See, that's freaking cool, man. So I'm only going to say, like, I ain't spending 44 grand on anything that I'm going to take anywhere remotely that could get destroyed. And I'll bring a point with this. I noticed like there's a lot of watch channels where they talk about going and exploring and doing adventuring and all this stuff. And like, I know there's some military people that like to do that stuff once they retire, but some of us, I don't mind going on a vacation and doing some fun stuff, but like doing some stuff where I take my life in my own hands again, I'm pretty good not doing. That's the big thing with this watch, is that it's $44,500. And there was the word in there where it said tactical or something, or military inspired or something, but that was my big takeaway. But then when I noticed what they did to it, I was like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool.
It's called the Pro Hunter Military World Timer, and it's obviously heavily, heavily customized. The first thing that struck me was, wow, they managed to get hold of a GMT Master 2 brand new one. But it looks like most of the elements, or most of the visual elements, have been customized. You've got the dial, obviously has got Pro Hunter written onto it, so they've customized the dial, and then you've got the additional disc, and then they've obviously DLC coated it. Plus, they've taken out the original bezel and replaced it with that World Time bezel, which sometimes is controversial. But I thought this was a great pick.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I never knew that people modded Rolexes. But I guess if you have enough Rolexes, one day you're like, I need a special one. You know what I mean?
Well, those were our picks for funny watches that say they're military inspired, but likely no military would use them. Let us know in the comments section down below which was your favorite one. Head on over to Jason's podcast and website. Links are in the description down below. And we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Reviews. Thanks, guys. Bye.